I thought it was all over.
The real coverage. I am your host, Nick McCandless. We're going to get right into it. I'm going to go in hard. We're going in on today's topic. Is Brian Burns being jerked around in this contract negotiation? And if so, why is this happening? Now, as a diehard Carolina Panthers fan, I'm going to honestly say that there's a lot of bias in here, okay? I believe in my heart of hearts that that man should have been paid after the 2021 season going into the 2022 free agency. We're talking about a $26 million, $28, $30+ million contract that a lot of fans are upset about. They're like, man, why are we giving all this money to this man? Like, no, trade him. Go get another first-round pick. Go get this. Go get that. That literally makes no sense. You know the one thing that teams don't trade? High-end talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You think the Cowboys are going to take calls on Micah Parsons because somebody might offer 3 first-round picks? No. So why would we do it on Brian Burns? Now, I obviously am going to immediately draw the comparisons. Oh, well, he's not Micah Parsons. Okay. But he's the best player on the defensive side of the ball, especially since we went and got rid of Reddick. Like, we could have such a better offense, and this could have all been avoided if the front office would have just paid him in 2021, 2022. Okay? Crazy contract in 2021. It was Judon, I want to say, with the Ravens. I'm pretty confident. That's when he got his deal. It was like, I think it was like $70 million. Another crazy one later was Von Miller, 6-year, $120 million. That's like $20 million a year if you really just want to break it out evenly. I would take that deal today for Brian Burns, no problem. You know who wouldn't? Brian Burns, because he showed out in 2022 and said that he is not a $20 million a year back in linebacker. This is absolutely crazy to me that the Panthers don't pay a quarterback, don't pay a high-end running back. Don't get me wrong, I love Miles Sanders, but to say that we're paying him high-end running back money is just insane. We don't have a top-tier wide receiver that we're paying. We don't have crazy offensive line players where I would say, oh my God, they're really sucking up our cap. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Don't have a crazy corner. We just lost J.C. Horn again, so I'm sorry. I'm going to be that guy. Actually, a bunch of people getting blocked by J.C. Horn on Twitter, so I loved you coming out of college. Bro. I thought that this was going to be a match made in heaven. I thought that you were going to be able to come here from South Carolina and just really show us what was up. But it looks like these injuries are happening in the NFL. He doesn't really have an injury history until he steps foot in the NFL. So I can't necessarily blame him. But at the same time, we have to make a decision about what's next. We have to... Sorry, somebody's calling me. Something. I mean, honestly, Greedy Williams got cut not too long ago. I would have been happy with him. I really liked him at one point. We just need something, dude. Our cornerback room is arguably the worst in football. Our wide receiver room, I'm going to be honest, I can't think of a worst wide receiver room off the top of my head. Outside, even Arizona, who looked like they were going to tank to the nth degree, didn't look the worst. I mean, there's still a bunch of players that they're going to auction off. Hollywood Brown probably being one of them. So I honestly think we have the worst wide receiver core and the worst just secondary, basically, in football. I just don't understand what our front office is doing. We're not paying anybody. We're not doing anything. And this is going to get into what I put up at the top for our topic, and is this a symptom of the NFL as a whole? And I think it is. I think that obviously we saw the outlier, Bosa, get his huge contract. It's like $36 million or something crazy a year, but nobody's going to bat an eye. Nobody batted an eye when it came to Watt. Nobody batted an eye to all these other ones because they're at bigger programs that are actually succeeded them. Essentially, to call them programs, I treat them, mentally like college programs because you still have to get a group of men together and succeed. I understand they're being paid, but They still have to put in their program, so that's why I'm going to refer to it as that. I don't know why Brian Burns is the one that has to take the fall for so many others. Brian Burns is a 25-year-old player that is going to continue to make Pro Bowls. He's going to have a 20-plus sack season guaranteed. I'm over the moon about this man. He is going to absolutely change lives. But if Panthers fans get their way, he's going to change lives at a different place. And it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense that you're okay with paying one guy here who's got good stats. And again, we did the Bosa Burns comparison, and they're very, very close. They're literally separated by a few sacks. So this idea that it's a crazy comparison to compare the two is completely out of there. Again, as a diehard Panthers fan, it hurts, man. It hurts to see our front office just continue to fail us. Our front office just not get deals done and everything. I've said that there's plenty of wide receivers on the market that are on the essentially quote unquote on the trading block. I understand that they're not, but there's always calls that can be made. One of those being Mike Evans. I'm sorry, it's in division and everything like that, but he would be an amazing asset. Chris Godwin. We need to give Bryce Young a top tier talent. The reason why I say that is because a lot of people be like, "Oh man, he can't do anything now that he's not in Alabama." Now welcome to the NFL. Welcome to the Panthers. You're essentially at the Vanderbilt of the division. I think it's just Bryce Young is used to playing with quality receivers, quality line, quality running backs. He's used to playing with guys that are going to be top tier talent. Meanwhile, he's playing with guys that were hodgepodged by a front office that just doesn't make sense. You added Thielen, a wide receiver 2. At this point on that team, he'd be a wide receiver 4, and you bring him in to be our wide receiver 1. Doesn't make sense. Give him a 3-year deal at 34. What are you doing? Bring in LaVisca, a wide receiver 2, 3 if you're lucky. I would say 2 if you're lucky. 3 on a good day. Chark, again, the two of them liked him, didn't love them. But you're going to bring him here to be a 2 and a 3 on our team, and then expect that, oh man, now that we have these 3 wide receiver 3s, we're going to do real well. No. Why do we not have a top tier wide receiver? I don't care if we have to pay him $20 million. We're not paying Brian Burns. I don't understand. I want somebody out there. Somebody's going to come tell me, oh man, you don't know anything about ball. You don't know this. You don't know that. I know that Eagles can pay offensive and defensive players and succeed. The Rams even did it with Cooper Kupp on IR. The idea that for some reason the Carolina Panthers are insulated from criticism is absolutely crazy. And I do not advocate, like Prez and I talked about on Twitter, I do not agree with the idea of being hateful towards players. They are not doing anything wrong when they have a bad game. Obviously, they're not meeting their own potential, but they also have to deal with that themselves. They have to deal with that with the team. They have to deal with that in their bank account sometimes. But to get back onto this Brian Burns thing, this defensive end thing is, I think, more aptly summed up into how we're seeing this influx of offensive talent. I think the stat was 4-1 or 5-1 offensive coaches to defensive coaches won over the weekend. So obviously showing offense succeeds. But the difference is in each draft, we're seeing 3 at best defensive players really shine. Not only their first year, but continue to succeed. For example, my Panthers have continued to take stabs at these drafts on the offensive side of the ball. We found some good ones. I like Tommy Tremble. I like Chuba Hubbard. I like Terrace Marshall. I like Mingo. I like some of those pieces on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, my favorite player is Brian Burns, and there's nobody close. I mean, that's it. And we've drafted top corners. We've drafted all that. J.C. Horn, again, I fucking bled for this man coming out of college. But it's just not coming together. And I don't know what to do on that side of the ball. What do we need to change up? Trainers? Do we need to change up the field? I know obviously there's a lot of talk with the Aaron Rodgers thing with the artificial turf. What do we need to do? Because we need to do something. This defensive side of the ball, we're not paying anybody. It's gonna be a nosebleed all year, and that Falcons game was a joke. A absolute joke when it comes to we literally knew they were going to run the ball, and they ran the ball all over us. Drake London had 1 target and no catches, and we lost to a Londonless Falcons. You've got to be kidding me. Got to be kidding me. We need to pay Brian Burns. We need to pay him a huge deal. You need to pay him a deal that is much long term. Give him a 10-year deal. I don't really care. That man needs to stay a Panther for the rest of his career. Stop it with this. We need to trade him BS. Now, again, going back to it, defensive players are only coming out 2, 3, 4 a draft. So you really got to hit those players. We're not going to hit them if we're not trying to move forward, trying to upgrade, trying to do all that. And the first step is paying Brian frickin' Burns. Pay the man his money. There is absolutely no reason why Fitterer needs to stay the GM if Burns' deal is not done within the next, I would say, 2 weeks. To be honest, it should have already been done, and I believe it's an indictment on the front office. And I will continue to say that. I do not believe that this front office has the best interest in mind as the fans. I do not think that the front office has anything going on that can actually help us in the long term. I think the front office is the problem as of right now because Bryce went out there, did the best he could with what he had, and I was happy with the result. What I was not happy with was the pieces around him given to him by the front office. Frank Reich can only coach so much when he has to coach in a bucket. And I'm tired of that happening to my Panthers. So something needs to be done. I think, honestly, the hottest seat in football is Scott Fitterer's seat as of right now, especially since we went out and got Bryce Young. We would have stayed at 9 and missed out on a quarterback. I could have said, okay, yeah, we sucked the first week because we don't have a quarterback, but now we have him. It's time to start acting like it, Panthers. It's time to start paying people. It's time to start building a winning franchise. And that's not going to happen if we continue to do the same things that clearly haven't been working. This is a very disgruntled Panthers fan trying to verbalize the pain that we're going through. Obviously, shout out to Rich Eisen with what he's going through with Rodgers. Nothing like that. But this is just, it's a problem that's not going away. Not going away until we're willing to sit down, really have that conversation as fans and start really pushing for the front office to either make those changes or for the changes to be made to the front office. With that, my name is Nick, host of Roll Coverage. Have a great rest of your day.